Welcome to More Patience, More Impact, More Income, the podcast for real holistic medical practitioners who want to grow their high-impact, high-income practice without selling out. And now, here's your host, Chris Axelrad.
You're listening to More Patience, More Impact, More Income. Today, we have something a little different for you, and it's just too good to limit to one episode. Here's Chris with part one of the series.
All right, so today's lesson, this is where the proverbial rubber meets the road, as it were. We've got them in our office, okay? And this is where, there's a lot of variations, right? People train and teach different things. And so, some people teach that we need to do a really, almost like a high-pressure sales process and get them, frame this big discount, like we're going to give them all of this stuff for this one-time price. It's one way to do it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I don't like to do it that way. I did it that way at one time, and I'll explain all this later, why I decided not to keep doing it that way. But what I've built, what I've created in the system that I have is really from start to finish, there's a continuous frame. It's like I always like to say, if you go to a movie, I've asked people this before, like, what makes a great movie, right? People are like, well, they'll say, oh, it's the actors, or, oh, it's the, the actual script, or it's whatever. Well, it's all of that, but the one thing that makes a great movie great is that from the very beginning until the very end, the frame is continuous. Like, you never, what I call, exit the frame. The psychology, the sequence, everything is continuous, right? So, like, for instance, you think of Avatar. If you saw Avatar, from the very first scene until the very end, you were just glued to the screen. You never got to a point where you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, why did they do that or whatever? And that's the same thing we have to do with our process of bringing patients into our practice. And so all the stuff that I have in this perpetual patient attraction loop, which, as you can see, there's one of the icons there that I replaced that I didn't animate properly. But anyway, we'll see. So this perpetual patient attraction loop, it's one continuous frame, which is what makes it so powerful. And that frame is very, very clear from the beginning. So you're really bringing people in to this very congruent and very authentic and real process. From the second they see your marketing material the very first time, you have to understand that, like, when someone encounters you, it doesn't matter how that initial encounter happens. That initial encounter could be through a referral. That initial encounter could be through a flyer in a doctor's office. That initial encounter could be a Facebook ad. It could be a search ad on Google. It could be a retargeting ad. Actually, retargeting wouldn't happen unless they've been to your website first, so that doesn't count. It could be that they just hear you mention in a conversation. Whatever that first encounter is, all of the, the level of truth, the level of true caring and authenticity and integrity that you operate with is going to be transmitted and communicated in that first encounter, okay? The power of that first encounter is so important. But the key is, are you going to be able to sustain that authenticity through the entire process? So we start, like I've said, and I see that we have Alexis here. Good to see you. It's been a while. And I want to say Oksana. I cannot read Russian, but I bet you that's Oksana. So if you're here, Oksana, still, then I would love if you confirm for me that actually is how your name is pronounced. That would be pretty cool if I literally just read some Russian. So as we've said, we start with a problem. We need to lead with the problem, not we're an acupuncture clinic. We do naturopathic medicine, We've already established that. Don't do that. Talk about people's problems, because that's what people think about. They're more interested in themselves than anything else. We established that, all right? You need to be speaking to people who realize and know that they have a problem. That's very important too. Although we did talk about in the last thing, if you didn't see it, how there are 3 levels of the market, and the 3-tier automated system that I created speaks to all those levels simultaneously, but definitely will trigger motivated, like self-motivated contact from people at all 3 levels. Okay. So it's really important. But for the sake of now, this loop is really all about someone's coming in to the ecosystem and they're starting to like move towards becoming a patient. They're going from market prospect to patient. Okay. So when they start researching, again, you want your message to be there. Your message, this lighthouse, you want it to be there. Okay. And again, like what we talked about leading up to today is how to build a message that is like a hit song, right? Like a classic song is always good. It's always awesome. We always want to listen to it, right? It never gets old. And when you have a message that resonates with a real problem that people have, what you're doing is you're setting up this really permanent structure, this very permanent asset, this lighthouse that's foundation is on bedrock, and that just shines its light continuously out into the dark sea. And there's people who think that they're okay for now, and then they get lost, right? So there's people who, like in my market, of course, I do fertility endocrinology. There are girls in middle school right now who are going to be my patients in 15 years. Sadly, 15 to 20 years. I'll still be around. I'm planning on still being around. 15 to 20 years from now, there's going to be girls that are in middle school today who are going to end up being my patients. Why? Because they're going to run into some trouble getting pregnant. And when they do, guess what? My message that has worked for over a decade is going to be right there for them to see on the proven channels and with the proven process that I've created to put it out there. Okay. And so that's what's important, is to have that, right? And then when they find your message, they're like really pumped up, because they're like, holy crap, this person gets it. They see my pain. They understand. We talked about last time in the very last lesson, how to read their minds, right? How to make it, to where they see your stuff and they're like, oh my God, this is like, he's writing this about me. This is about me. This is exactly what I'm looking for. You have that in your marketing, and that very naturally triggers them to want to contact you. You're not making them an offer of a discount to give them incentive. You're not making them an offer of some special thing or some, I don't know, like novelty, right? Like I remember when the Olympics 2 years ago, was 2 years ago, right? Yeah, 2016 Olympics, and all the swimmers had their cup marks, right? And then for a while, everybody wanted to go offer cupping, like cupping. Well, it's great. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a way to get people in your office, but that front end of like, hey, come in for this curiosity, it's not really a good way to build a really powerful reputation as a go-to expert in your community. And that's what I teach people to do. You know, I don't teach people to sell. I teach people, I mean, of course, there is selling involved. We can't deny that we have to actually make a sale, okay? But this isn't like hard selling. It's not convincing. It's not, you know, this is how you set up like rock solid guru, like name recognition level status in your market. That's what I teach. Okay. So they reach out to you because they want what you have, not because you're offering them some kind of incentive. And then they book, and then they show up. Okay. Like, as we all know, there are some patients or some people who book their initial appointment and then they ghost before they even show up for their first appointment. So obviously they're not that interested. So whatever, you just let them go. And my process already has that built in. We're gonna talk about that here in a second later in this lesson. But my process is already built into like not even like we don't worry about that at all. Like when people don't show up for their first appointment, you don't even call them back. Like literally, we'll call them just if they're 15. Like so, we do have a process where if they're 15 minutes late, we will reach out to them and we will say, "Hey, just checking to see if you're still coming." Right. And a lot of times, those people are just late, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm on the way. I'm just around the corner." Okay, cool. But we'll call new patients who, it's their first appointment and they aren't there. It's 15 minutes after the time. We call them to see if they're still coming. They don't answer their phone or they goes to voicemail. We don't call them back. We're done. Like that's it. So they show up, and then the next step here, which didn't pop up animated, but it's the last set here, it's the last thing on the circle here so far, is you get to talk to them and answer their questions and help them feel comfortable to move forward. Notice how all of this has happened and we haven't talked about money. And that's really important. Not that I think money's dirty, not that I have money issues. It's just that the way my process is set up, it's set up to put the problem before the money, the problem before the price, so that the people that are coming into your ecosystem, again, are not looking at money as the most important factor. And that doesn't mean that we're setting them up to price gouge them either. You're going to find this out here too, is that I'm really big on, charge a fair price. Obviously, like what's fair is totally subjective. So you just have to charge a price that you feel comfortable charging, and you could charge $300 a visit. If people are willing to pay that, that's fine. Personally, I don't want to do that. Number one, I did at one point try raising my price significantly, and it did have a serious effect on the new patients that were coming in terms of people deciding against, starting treatment. And so there's kind of a happy medium between, you can be a high priced exclusive practitioner and only see like 20 people a week and charge $300 a pop. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I prefer to see a lot of people. I love being with patients. So I think I would just like lose my mind if I was only seeing 20 people a week. I see 30 people in a day, So, and we don't, and it's not cheap. I mean, we're not the cheapest in the market, but we're certainly not like, trying to, charge a super premium price. I would say our price is like, if you had restaurants, how they'll have like, if you look at the Google reviews on a restaurant or Google listing on a restaurant, and it'll tell you like the dollars, the $1 sign is like they're probably cheap. The $2 sign is medium price. $3 signs is, not cheap, but I mean, not medium, but not like super. And then $4 signs is like, okay, you're going to spend like $50 for an entree. We're probably the $3. Okay. We're not medium price. We're not low price, but we're certainly not like the $50 an entree thing. All right. And then like after you've answered all their questions, they are like, it dawns on them like, I really want this. And they're actually really happy. And they're like, let's go, let's do this. And then you talk money. Okay. And that's really important because they get a sense of the value before they see the price. And actually, I think in many cases, once, especially in my situation, for my practice, because all of this is set up the right way, and we do this really well. And again, I can teach you how to do this. I will give you all the scripts. I will give you the entire process in my program, and I will help you set it up as long as it's a good fit, which is why we make people apply first. You have to apply, and an application is not I'll get into that later, but it's not an obligation to say yes if it is a good fit. It's just like you're saying you're interested. Okay, so, but basically the way it works when we do say what our rates are, I think probably 90% of the people are like, wow, that's a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. Like, even though it's not cheap, they're like, damn, like that's actually a pretty good deal. So then we don't have to offer them a discount. And remember, all of this is predicated on your commitment to specific problems. You have to stay committed to being specific about the problems you help people with. That doesn't mean that you only treat those people, but this is your marketing. Your marketing is around specific problems. Of course, I do fertility. I get tons of patients who come in that don't have fertility problems, and they're referred by my fertility patients, and then they refer people. So there's this little sub ecosystem or subculture in my clinic of people who don't have fertility problems. That's fine, but our marketing is around fertility. Our marketing is around thyroid. Our marketing is around other things like that people really can identify themselves with. Hey, what's up, Janet? Good to see you. Glad you're here. And you have to have a simple message, and you have to stick to that. Don't start teaching people Chinese medicine. They don't want to learn Chinese medicine. They don't want to learn naturopathic medicine. They don't want to learn functional medicine. They want help. These are the people you want. You want the people who are just really, honestly, the most important thing is for them to get help and solve their problem. And you have to have a clear process that you can very clearly delineate. We talked about that early on. We've already covered all of those things, okay? So, and now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this last part, building real trust. Real trust, okay? I mean, it's like, wow, okay, real trust. So here's where we are right now. This is what we're going to talk about today. We're at the point where they're in our office, okay? And like I was just saying a minute ago, see the red circles here. What I'm about to teach you today really won't work as well or at all. I can't guarantee you, because I've never done it outside the context of the rest of these things being done first. And you have to understand, it's like if you're going to have the ending of a movie, and the ending of a movie has nothing to do with the beginning of the movie, right? Then it's not going to make any sense. And that's kind of how this is. I mean, we've led them all the way up to this point. So I just want to make that clear. You know, I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying if you do this stuff and you haven't done the other stuff up front, then, you know, and you come back to me and you say, you know, that shit didn't work. Well, first question I'm going to ask you is, well, what ad did they see? What happened when they contacted you? How did you frame everything on the phone? How did you frame everything coming into the first appointment, right? Because that's going to be important. It's going to be important. Absolutely. So here's what we're going to learn today. We're going to learn the essential and completely counterintuitive step to gain massive trust from your prospective patient and ensure the highest chance of them showing up ready to take you seriously. There's no way to have 100% show rate on the first visit. There's no way to have 100% the people who do show up be serious and ready to start. But I'm going to tell you right now that with what we do in my clinic and the process that I've laid out in my War Room program, my Accelerated Practice Growth program, which has worked for dozens of people. So the process that we lay out and the way we do it, 90% or more of the people that book a free consultation become a regular patient. 90%. Okay. 9 out of 10. It's pretty awesome. And that's just because, like, since I've been doing this so long and I am a obsessive optimizer, you have to understand, like, I constantly optimize things. So because I'm always optimizing, like, at every step of the way, as soon as I saw flaws, as soon as I saw things like, man, we could have done that better. We should have said this, or we should have sent this email first, or we should have made sure that we did this step. Then we just did it, and we kept refining it. And it just kept getting better and better. Sometimes it got worse, after. That's one thing about when you optimize, is that you have to be willing to try shit and you have to be willing to fail. Talked about that a bunch of times. So sometimes things got worse, but at least I learned, okay, that didn't fucking work. So let's do something else. We're going to talk about the one thing you need to tell almost everyone who steps in your office. If you ever want to be a big time name in your community, okay, I'm going to tell you that right now. And it's something that to me, it's sad that so many people are afraid to say this to people, okay? And I see Sarah just popped in here. What's up, Elizabeth? Good to see you. Happy Xmas. It's Merry Xmas, And I'm going to talk about why big pay upfront packages are actually, in my opinion, the last thing you want to do and what you need to do instead. And it's kind of an epidemic in our industry. Everybody wants to do packages. It's just almost like that's kind of like the standard way of doing it. And again, if you look around our industry and you see how many people are struggling, apparently it's not fucking working. Okay. So I'm going to teach you something to do instead. And just as a reminder, all of these things that I teach are to accelerate the growth of your practice so you can grow faster and help more people, have more impact, enjoy a more consistent and just overall greater income, and be a light in your community as the go-to unquestioned authority in your area of expertise. This is all about branding you as an unquestioned authority so that when they see the name of your clinic or they see your name, there's no question in their mind what you do, who you help. And I put this little screenshot here. This is my contact management system where all of our patients go. And this is in the last 30 days. This is December. 74 new contacts. 74 new patients in December alone. All right. And if you look at the total contacts we have, I would say about 1,200 of those are people who never were patients, that were just people who registered for our free talks. The rest are patients. So we've helped a lot of people. And just in case you're new, I don't think there's anybody new, so I'll just roll through this real quick. But my name's Chris Axelrad, and I am an acupuncturist. I specialize in endocrinology and reproductive medicine. This is my team this is the 5 of us that were working at the clinic in 2016. We now have 8 people, as of today. And, why you might want to believe me? Well, I'm actually doing it. This is our schedule from September 30th that I had screenshotted. And if you look here, the yellow and the orange are new patients. And this is across 3 locations. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, every office is busy. Every office has quite a schedule. And then also, we have 3 locations. You go to my website and feel free to click around, and you can see all these are verified Google Map listings. So I don't make this up. And then, of course, my revenue from the year. And you can see the consistency. What I'm going to teach you today is really the key to the consistency in this revenue, where it's just like a heartbeat. We just have the same amount of money coming in pretty much every day of the week. What I mean by that is every Monday, the same amount. Every Tuesday, the same amount. Every Wednesday, same amount. Blah, blah, blah. So it's like like a heartbeat. And just in October, $85,926.84. I mean, that's a pretty good month. And this is our year, okay? Our year, you can see, again, the consistency there. And our revenue for the year, I just actually ran our final numbers, and we went over 900K, which, man, I was really shooting for 7 figures. But, hey, you know what? I'll take it. And I'm proud of it. And it just blows my mind, honestly. I never would have thought that this was going to happen when I started practice. So I just kept growing, So if you do this stuff, it works. So you just have to take it seriously, and you just have to actually take action, okay? So again, I love helping people grow their practices. So I just want to say this up front, okay? I'm good at it, and I would love to help you. And yeah, one reason I do these free trainings is because, I want to help you out in advance. And also it will hopefully lead to you realizing that I can really help you and that it would be worth it to join my program, where I will get a chance to talk to you one-on-one, really come up with a plan that's specific to you, give you all the step-by-step action plans that are going to help you to implement all of the ads, all of the copy, all of the systems and everything else that's going to help you just accelerate your growth. Like we're talking, I've had people who were in practice for a decade who joined my program, and in 1 year, they made a decade's more worth of progress. Like they doubled or tripled their practice in 1 year after being in practice for a decade. So it's like an accelerator, a 10-year accelerator. Like that's how this works. And yeah, we offer a free initial consultation, just like I'm about to teach you about today, for people who are seriously considering working with me and my team. So you can apply anytime at this URL. And there's actually a link to it in the description of this video too. chrisaxelrod.com/apply. And applying is not an obligation to say yes. It's just an indication of interest. So you'll book a call and then we can talk about it. If it's not a good fit, fine. No harm, no foul. You're going to get clarity out of the process regardless of what happens. And I just want to remind you, spots are limited and spring enrollment deadline is December 31st because we're not going to be doing any more new people for at least a few months after December 31st. So you can apply, as long as you apply by December 31st, 11:59 p.m., then we'll put you in the queue. But then after that, it's going to be about 2 or 3 months before we're going to open it up again, because I need to spend some time focusing on, first of all, I'm about to publish a book. Second of all, I want to get another book and another thing set up for my 5-element functional medicine. Okay. So, and plus, the price right now for this is just ridiculously reasonable. So I don't know if it's going to change or not. So, if you get the write-off of the first payment, and it is a monthly payment, it's not like some big, $40,000 deal or some bullshit like that. Not that that's bullshit. I'm sorry. If people want to charge that, that's fine. If people want to pay that, that's fine. That's not how I roll. What you're going to see me teaching here is exactly how I run the coaching program too. All right. So let's talk first about the essential and completely counterintuitive step to gain massive trust from your prospective patient. So remember, when they show up, they're not your patient yet. They're still just a prospective patient. And honestly, I really don't even see them as a patient until they've completed their first follow-up. We still treat them like a prospect until they finish their first follow-up. Okay. But anyway, you're going to gain massive trust from your prospective patient and ensure the highest chance of them showing up ready to take you seriously. All right. So look, let's remember something. Even at the point that they contact you, and even at the point that they booked their appointment, okay, and even when they show up for their first appointment, they're still not sure. They're still not sure. Okay. I want you to think of any time that you've had, first of all, you can always tell people who have had serious medical issues, because those are the people that don't talk shit about doctors. Just be straight up. You see people who talk shit about Western medicine and how evil it is and all that. Honestly, I think most of those people have not had serious medical issues where they've really needed help, or unfortunately, maybe they did and they just got a really shitty doctor. But and then like what people do is they generalize and they're like, well, it's kind of like if I went to a pizza restaurant and it sucked, then I was like, well, pizza sucks. I'm never going to have pizza again. I'm not even going to go try another pizza restaurant. That's not a very rational process of thought, right? But the point is, if you've ever gone to a doctor, even though you booked the appointment and now you're at the first appointment, you're still kind of checking things out and you're still not sure. And you're trying to see how is the staff and what does the office look like? And is the doctor going to be nice? And what are they going to tell me? And right? there's still a lot of uncertainty in your mind. So it's really important to remember that, okay? It's really important to remember that about the person that has booked an appointment with you and is now sitting in your office. Now, the good news about them is, like I always say, if they took the time to call and then they actually said, yeah, let me book something, and then they actually showed up, then, I mean, you're 90% of the way there. And so people who get people in their office and then they can't close, there's one of two things. Either A, your marketing sucks. In other words, your marketing just does not attract people who are serious. Or B, you are saying all the wrong things. And so today I'm going to help you fix that. Okay. Basically, we've already fixed the other part prior to this, which is you're attracting people into your office that are serious and looking for help to begin with. Okay. Now we're going to make sure that we don't say the wrong shit to like screw it up and to repel them, basically. All right. And here's what a lot of us do. Okay. Here's what a lot of acupuncturists do, and naturopaths and everyone else. They take this person who's uncertain, not really sure, and they immediately take the conversation to the money. So like on the first call, it's like, give me your credit card and pay. And I need a deposit for you to hold your space, or I need your credit card so that if you don't show up, I'm going to like charge you or whatever. Okay, cool. That's what you want to do. So I guess for some people that might work. What I found, and again, if I just go back to this slide right here, okay, what I found is that what I'm about to teach you is what leads to this, okay? It is what leads to where a busy week is not 25 patients a week. A busy week is 25 patients a day, if that's what you want, all right? So again, I want to remind you before I tell you this, because a lot of people think it's like dumb, and I would just say, okay. So we selfishly expect them to see the value, even though they're still not clear, right? Even though they're still not 100% clear. And this is where people, I think it's funny because people think, oh, what app is that? Oh, the calendar, Sarah, it's Acuity Scheduling. AcuityScheduling.com. Tell them I sent you. So, and it's great. I love it. I love Acuity. It doesn't have charting. Actually, they do have some simple charting. You can actually do some simple charting inside of Acuity. It's just really simple. I'm all about simplicity, man. Like, I do not want complicated shit. I don't want complicated software. None of that. Okay. So the thing is, like I talked about this, but just because you have a degree and just because you know some things, that doesn't make you valuable at all. The value, you don't have any intrinsic value just because you have a piece of paper on your wall. The value comes from what? Your process and the way that you customize things for the patient. And also the value, you have to really generate the idea of the value to a certain degree in their mind by the way you present yourself and the way that you speak to them and the process. And that's what this process does. This process actually really frames everything so that you are a high value target in their mind. It does set you apart from Joe Blow Acupuncture Clinic, strip mall acupuncture clinic down the street. It absolutely will set you apart. So again, we selfishly expect them to see the value and they don't yet. Okay. So this is why a lot of people struggle to grow their practice and really have consistent patient flow and consistent income. So if you've done everything pretty much right up to this point, like I said, they're coming into this first visit with you with a frame of, this is a serious decision. It's not just a purchase. This isn't just like, I'm going to go get my nails done or I'm going to go get a massage and see how it goes. This is a serious decision. Like, they are making a decision on who's going to be the person that is going to help them escape a serious problem in their life. Okay. So that's important. That's important. That's why I said, I can't guarantee you that what I'm about to teach you will work if you haven't done everything the same or similar up to this point.
This is the podcastfactory.com.